Was Luther Burden III the steal of the 2025 NFL Draft? We're going to talk about that here on Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Thanks for everybody tuning in to today's show. And we just ask you guys, are you excited? Are you fired up to watch Luther Burden in this offense? Because to me, he's a great fit for what Ben Johnson has said he wants in his weaponry, wide receiver room, whatever you want to call it. Hit that like button if you're fired up to watch Luther Burden. Okay, Matt Miller, ESPN Draft analyst, who, quite frankly, was all over what the Bears were trying to do. He had Colston Loveland higher on his personal board, but also he thought the Bears would have them higher, and then he was all over this Burden pick as well. He put out an article of his 100 favorite picks in the NFL Draft this year, and he had Luther Burden to the Bears as his number one favorite pick. He said, Burden was my top wide receiver in the class. I'm counting Travis Hunter as a two-way player. And he landed in a great situation with the Bears and Coach Ben Johnson. Burden's yards after the catch ability is terrific, and Johnson's scheme has been elite at creating space for wide receivers. Burden likely starts as a slot receiver with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze flanking him, but he thrived in that alignment at Missouri. So Matt Miller had Burden as his 13th overall prospect. I thought Burden was a top 20 guy from just a football player standpoint. That was like, top 20, top 25 at the worst because his production decreased this year, which we'll get into that here in a little bit. But he's a dynamic player with the ball in his hands. I thought he was the best player in this draft. Just get him the ball and let him go, regardless of position. I thought he was the best at that. And in today's NFL, more and more teams are just looking for that, right? Like, of course, you love the route running technicians, which I think he's an above average route runner. And you like the big body guys, but more so than anything, the quick game is what most of the good offenses utilize the most. So just get guys who can be mismatches and go after the catch. And that is Luther Burden in a nutshell. And remember, Ben Johnson, the new Bears head coach, at the owners' meetings, basically said, we want guys who can be explosive after the catch. Obviously, DJ Moore's a guy who can do that. I think Zacchaeus gives you a little bit of that. I think that's part of why they signed him as well, to be a rotation guy who can give you some juice after the catch. But Luther Burden, that is him to a T. Honestly, I'm a little upset at myself that we didn't talk a little more about Luther Burden pre-draft. I just didn't think they'd get him because, like I've alluded to on prior episodes, the Bears picked at 10 and 39. I thought he'd be in that gap in between. I thought he'd go as high as, 15, 16, as low as late first round. I did not expect him to be available at 39. Even if he was available day two, I thought, okay, Tennessee's picking at 35. Patriots are at 34. They both need receivers. They'll take him, but there he was, sitting at 39. Oh, we get the best yak receiver in the draft, which is exactly what our head coach wants in his receivers. Yep, we're going to take that guy, even though it's kind of a luxury premium pick. But he's the best player available, and he does a lot of the things we like in our receivers. So now when you look at this room, you got a lot of guys who can make things happen after the catch. And I do think it really clears up, too, why they didn't bring back Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is a savvy veteran. He's a good route runner. He's still a productive player. He gives you no juice after the catch at this point in his career. He is catch, maybe gets a couple yards, and he's tackled. He doesn't want to play through contact, which, hey, I don't blame him. He's 32, 33 years old. DJ Moore, one of the best guys after the catch. Luther Burden, best in this draft after it. Zacchaeus gives you that. Rome, for his size, is actually pretty fluid out in space. So you got multiple guys who can win in space, not only with the route running and the technique, but just, hey, quick screen, quick curl, just go, catch and go. And not only is that what a lot of teams are doing in today's NFL, but it's going to help out your quarterback, Caleb Williams. Like, hey, identify the matchup, get the ball to your guy in space. It's going to be very difficult for teams to defend DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Luther Burden. And, oh, by the way, Colston Loveland, who could separate if they're all on the field at the same time. Like, that is going to be a challenge. So even though it's a luxury pick, it was a BPA pick, and it's a pick of a guy that fills a skill set that Ben Johnson covets heavily. I love the pick, and so does Matt Miller. Who do you guys think is better long-term on this team? Who do you think ends up being a bigger playmaker in this offense? Type RO for Rome Odunze, LB for Luther Burden III. I think Odunze is a more complete player, but Burden, especially with what Johnson has done historically, I would not be shocked if he was the answer. The good news is Both these guys have a chance to be really, really good. Okay. Marcus Mosher, I want to give him credit for this. I thought this was a good find. Here's the list of every SEC receiver to post 1,200 or more yards during their freshman or sophomore season. Jamar Chase, Alshon Jeffrey, Mike Evans, Jerry Jeudy, A.J. Brown, Luther Burden. That's a pretty goddamn good list. Excuse my French. If his floor of production is Jerry Jeudy, who the last couple of years has kind of really come into his own, sign me up. Now, it's no guarantee that that's his floor, but that's a pretty exclusive list. Like, it is very difficult to be a dominant playmaker in the SEC as a freshman or a sophomore. It just is. It's the closest thing to the NFL that exists in college football. So for Luther Burden in his sophomore year to be a dominant player at Missouri, by the way, most of those other guys play at like Bama or LSU, that's pretty darn impressive. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Plus, why did Burden's production dip in his junior season? I think there's one big reason, but a couple of smaller reasons that probably come into play as well. But first, got to tell you about our sponsor on today's show. That is Rocket Money. Head over to rocketmoney.com/bears now to get started with the best personal finance app that can help you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and help lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. With prices going up on just about everything lately, being smart with your money isn't just a good idea, it's essential. But managing subscriptions, tracking spending, cutting costs can feel overwhelming, trust me. I got a 2-year-old. We pay for his daycare. We got a house mortgage. It's tough to figure out what you are willing to spend your money on. But lucky for you, and lucky for me and my wife, Rocket Money takes the guesswork out of it so you can easily make those smart decisions. Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all of your accounts, so you can figure out, okay, I want to cut back in this area. I don't want to spend this much on food or travel, whatever the case may be. It's very, very user-friendly. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 per year when they use all of the app's premium features. So stop waiting, cancel your unwanted subscriptions today, and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. All you got to do is go to rocketmoney.com/bears now. Rocketmoney.com/bears now. It's going to redirect you to the App Store and download the app. If you use our link, it really supports the show. If you're a fan of this show and want to get on top of your finances, head over to rocketmoney.com/bears now and get started with Rocket Money today. Okay, continuing with this Luther Burden-themed episode of why I think he was the steal of the draft. Matt Miller does as well. So why did the production dip in 2024? I'll just show you the numbers right here. Receptions, down 25, right? 86 2 years ago. Obviously played one more game, so that plays a little bit of a role. 61 last year. Yards, 1,200 and change, 676. I'm not as concerned about the touchdowns, 9-6. Average, that stands out, obviously. Not as much explosiveness from Burden this past year. I think there's one main reason. I don't think it's the only reason, but I think it's that Brady Cook, Missouri's quarterback, who played pretty well in 2023. I watched him in that year and last year. He fell off a cliff last year. I mean, I don't even think the stats do it justice. Brady Cook was kind of viewed as a rising senior last year, like, oh, maybe he could be like a day 2 draft pick. He's got good size. He can move around, solid arm. Just did not play well. Did not play well, despite Mizzou having a pretty good offensive line, despite having Luther Burden, one of the most juiced-up receivers in the NFL. The run game wasn't as good, so that probably played a role. But he just wasn't as good. So is it that simple? Brady Cook didn't play as well, so Burden's production fell off? I don't think it's that simple. I do think it's the primary reason that, and this happens in college football all the time, right? Like in the NFL, even the not so good quarterbacks are still like decent, right? In college football, you get bad QB play, there's almost nothing you can do. It's just the variance is so wide in college football that it can really impact the skill players around them. Now, I do think there are other things that we should at least acknowledge that were out there. Right? There were pre-draft whispers. I know McShay mentioned this, a couple other small reports that you heard that, and I do want to use whispers. This is not, I don't think, to a James Cook level or even a Walter Nolan, but that Luther Burden's attitude just wasn't great last season. Did he fully mail it in? I don't think that's fair to say, but, Mizzou wasn't having as good of a season. It was clear pretty early they weren't going to be a playoff team. Maybe he was looking ahead to the NFL. That's possible, and I'm not excusing that whatsoever. Like, you got to be locked in. You got to be a mature guy. But that could have led to him dipping in production, perhaps dipping a little bit in the NFL draft. So I do want to acknowledge those things. Maybe the route running got a little lazy. I think McShay mentioned, like, the second half of the Bama game, he kind of mailed it in. It's like, well, Brady Cook's throwing hospital balls, and they're down 30. But I hear you. Let's run that full dig down 38-10. But again, not excusing it, but I do think there were frustrating circumstances for the Mizzou receiving corps last year. Here's the bottom line. Luther Burden's talent is undeniable. Again, you go for 1,200 plus as a sophomore in the SEC, you're doing something right. He's extremely good after the catch. I think when he's locked in, his route running is above average with room to grow there. I think there needs some refinement on the details there. I don't think he's ever going to be like Devontae Adams as a route runner, but I think he could be above average. And I think what's special to me when it comes to Luther Burden is his ability to turn on the brakes, to decelerate and then reaccelerate at his size. Guys, he's 206 pounds. He can do it so well. Guys who move and change direction like that, they're usually like 175 pounds. Or like Kavontae Turpin with the Cowboys or someone like that. This guy does it at 200 plus. So he's got a unique skill set in that way, and he fits Ben Johnson's offense. Even if it's not going to look exactly like Detroit, the ability to get explosives after the catch, turn 6-yard passes into 30 plus, he can do that really, really well. And I think that will translate to the NFL. If there's a maturity thing that needs to come, okay. I think Antoine Randall is a good coach to have to be in his ear. He helped Jamison Williams improve. To me, if this guy locks in, really commits, and buys in to being on a team that has a chance to be really good, I think there is no limit to what he could be as a player in the NFL. I think he has all-pro potential. Maybe he's just a role player. It's up to him, in my opinion, to find out how good he ends up being in the NFL. Do you guys want more breakdown of some of the Bears draft picks? That was kind of a little breakdown analysis of Luther Burden III, potentially the steal of the NFL draft. If you enjoyed this video and want more of it, hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of the episode. We'll be back with more Bears content.